Hi everyone, I'm Hallie Crawford, Certified Career Coach and founder of HallieCrawford.com and also a Vanderbilt alumni from 1995. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us today to talk about coping with career regret and discussing how to make the right choice the next time around, whether you're needing to make a career change or just doing a better job, let's say, about establishing the right career goals for yourself. So let's dive right in. So I just want you to know, this is a picture of me a long time ago. I'm actually 43 now, and this was me in my early 20s with my mom and my sister. I'm the one on the far left. And I just want you to know that I understand very much so how it feels to experience regret. I was living in Chicago at the time when I was about 25, and I was working at the University of Illinois there. And I'll admit it, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but I'll admit that I was crying in the bathroom at my job. I ended up crying in the bathroom at my job several days in a row. This happened. And one day, when I was crying in the bathroom, I remember pulling myself together and saying, well, maybe I'll just go shopping after work and see if that would help. And I'll tell you right now that shopping therapy doesn't cut it. If you are in a stressful job that is not a fit for you and you're having a really hard time with that job because it's not a fit, shopping therapy definitely is not the answer. And what I did not know at that time, though, in that moment, was that was the beginning of the end of working full-time for someone else for me. After that, I got sick several times. I injured my eye badly, and just several crazy but really important things happened to me during that time that told me that this job was not a fit and I really had to move on as soon as possible. I had a difficult, demanding boss. My job was not very fulfilling for me on top of that, and I was miserable, but I was very scared. I didn't know what I wanted to do instead of having this job, and I felt completely stuck and uncertain about how to handle it. Several months later, I worked with a coach to determine my direction, and I knew what career direction I wanted to take after that. And years later, I was able to start my coaching practice and quit the job that I had at that time in order to pursue my passion and follow my dreams. And here's the deal with this slide, though, everyone, where it says I have to wear pantyhose. The biggest, one of the kind of big career regrets about this decision was in that moment when I was actually interviewing for that job years before I had this episode of being so upset, I knew at the time that this job would not be the right fit for me. I knew it. I remember thinking vividly to myself, first, gosh, I have to wear pantyhose at this job? I can't stand wearing pantyhose. I grew up in Florida. It's not something I'm used to or enjoy at all. And it was a job in development where I would have to, dress up and dress more formally. And the second thing was I realized in that moment, too, during the interview, this person, the woman who would be my boss, was very similar to my dad. And I love my dad, but working with him would be really, really tough. It would not be a good idea to do that. And even though I was offered the job, or when I was offered the job, even though I knew it was not the right fit for me, what did I say? I said, yes, I took it because I had to pay my student loans and I had to get something going right away. So this was one of my biggest career regrets. And I just want you to get, I completely understand it. There have been several more since then, of course, but this was one of the biggest ones. So I get how hard this can be. And we are here to help you overcome this and make the best or a better decision the next time around. So here's our agenda, okay? So we're going to talk about the 3 steps you need to take in order to make better career decisions for yourself so that you don't experience this regret again and you can overcome what regrets you already have. So here are the 3 steps, everyone. First of all, align. Align your professional goals with what is most fulfilling to you. We're going to talk about this and discuss how to determine what's rewarding and fulfilling to you. Number 2, expand your thinking. Think outside the box in terms of what would be the right career fit for you, but also push yourself to set larger career goals than you normally would otherwise. We always tell our clients, if you look here on the slide, to balance the passion with the practical when identifying these goals, because if you start small, everyone, you're going to get small. We always tell people to play big at the beginning. You can always trim or pare down or adjust your goals to be more realistic as appropriate as you go, but think really big and expand your thinking at the beginning. And number 3 is risk, taking that risk. With any change we need to make or moving forward in any action step in any way, shape, or form, there's going to be some element of risk involved. And we're going to talk about when to take a professional risk and when to sit tight. How do you know the difference, and how to mitigate or manage that risk effectively as well. We are also at the very end, or actually close to the end, we will talk about our Identify Your Ideal Career 4-session webinar series. It's coming up. We are very excited about it. This is a very popular, strong program. It's specifically for Vanderbilt alumni. We get rave reviews on this program, guys. It will help you determine your career direction. So it is for that purpose. If you need help with the next step in terms of changing career paths or wondering if you should make a transition or a change, this program is going to be perfect for you, okay? So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about, I want you to think about these 4 items on this slide and think about what are your regrets. So let's just make a list of what they are. They could be on this slide. They could be something completely different. Doesn't matter. But I want you to think about, have you taken a job just for the money and regretted it? Have you taken a job just because it was offered to you like I did, or for the money, and you wish you had tried for more fulfillment? Or wish you had quit a job that wasn't a fit for you sooner? Or do you wish you had taken more risk? So think about these for a moment, everyone. And please write down your top number 1 or 2 regrets. Again, whether they're on this list or something else, write those down. And what I want you to get as you're thinking about these is that these are common. These are normal for everyone. So these are the most common ones that we hear from our clients in terms of their regrets regarding their career. So please know you're not alone. It's normal, and we're here to fix it, okay? All right. So to start the foundation, before we get into the tips here, and we'll go through steps 1 through 3 in just a moment, but to start out with a foundation for the tips, this is the career model that we use with all of our clients to help them, number 1, identify their career direction and the right career fit. But also, number 2, to give them the components they need to consider to identify the right career goals as well, even if they're staying either in their current job or if they're staying within their current industry or field, okay? So here's the deal, guys. To determine your ideal career, you need to consider all of these pieces. Every single one needs to be considered. And to understand how to make the right career decisions as you go through the course of your career path, you need to consider all of these as well. We start with fulfillment down here on the bottom right as the cornerstone, okay? This is the one that we begin with because it impacts every other piece of the model, and it gives clients the most clarity about what direction to take and what goals to set. So it's not that compensation up here is not important. It's absolutely important and critical, but it comes last because if you identify and determine what's going to be most rewarding and fulfilling for you and enjoyable, as well as leveraging your strengths, etc., first, and then come to compensation, your goals will be bigger and stronger than they would have been otherwise. You don't want to let yourself just be in the box of, oh gosh, what am I good at and what's going to pay well? You need to consider everything, okay? And by the way, fulfillment is usually the hardest thing for our clients to define. So they usually need the help of a coach to help them determine what those are. But we're going to talk about those next, and I'll give you some advice on how to get started on how to align your career goals by defining what's fulfilling to you first, okay? So 2 more quick notes about this, about fulfillment and focusing on that first. So first of all, you want to align your career goals with what's fulfilling to you, whether, again, it's staying in your current job and making adjustments to it, or moving into another job, or simply aligning your goals correctly going forward. Now, here's the deal. This does not mean throw caution to the wind and take a job that doesn't pay your bills. Remember, compensation was on the career model we showed you a moment ago. But if you start with career moves that would be truly fulfilling to you and then adjust them to compromise if you need to, you will get results that are better than you would have otherwise. So again, that's why we have our clients start with fulfillment first, okay? And as we talked about, fulfillment impacts every other piece of the model. And here's the deal, everyone. Sure, we all want to have something that is going to be rewarding in some way and meaningful to us in a job. We get that. Here's the deal, though. We all have to compromise in our jobs in some way, shape, or form. There's always going to be something that is not ideal or not perfect or that we don't like as much. But what we find with our clients is when you are a choice, when you're using the career model to actively make your decisions, plan your career in advance and according to what works for you, and you are choosing instead of feeling sucked into something that you didn't choose, you will be light years happier and more satisfied just because of that, okay? So being a choice is a huge deal, especially when you're choosing where you can and need to compromise, because we all do. But when you make that choice about it, you're going to be much happier, okay? So still on step number 1 here, in order to define fulfillment, here are 2 things to kind of think about first. So take a look at this slide. They're basically the way we think about it with our clients is there's 2 components to fulfillment. There's the heart piece and the head piece. The heart piece is that passion or sense of enjoyment and meaning and accomplishment. It's that, sense of fulfillment in our heart, so to speak. And the head piece, though, also has to be taken care of, the practical element of our jobs. Our priorities need to be taken care of. We need to, have a job that's close enough to home or whatever it is if that's important to us. We need to have life balance in a way that works for us, and we need to have the right compensation. So fulfillment is absolutely a blend of the heart and the head, okay? Both of these play into the equation, so you have to consider both of them. So why is fulfillment important? If you take a look at the slide here, write down for me on your piece of paper or on your computer, on a scale of 1 to 5, how fulfilled are you at your current job? 5 being very high, okay? And as you think about this, I think it would be obvious to you why fulfillment is important, right? It's important for us to feel a sense of, some sort of sense of meaning or accomplishment, however you define fulfillment, okay? Because we'll be happier people, we'll be better parents, we'll be more successful in our jobs, we'll have greater life balance, et cetera, et cetera. We spend a lot of time at our jobs, so it is very important to have some sense of reward from it, okay? It's okay, absolutely, to get reward outside of your work as well. We love that. That's a great option too. But what we find is 9 times out of 10 with our clients, they want to get some sense of meaning out of what they do career-wise, okay? So how do we define these 2 heart and head pieces here? How do we define those 2 things in terms of fulfillment? So first of all, in terms of the heart piece, we have our clients, one of the very first things we have them do right away is identify what their values are, okay? And we have them do this in 2 ways, using a peak experience exercise and also defining their must-haves for their job, okay? So first of all, the peak experience is defined as thinking of a time in your life. It could be personal, it could be professional. Either way is okay, guys, okay? But just pick something. A time in your life when you felt great and things were running on all cylinders. It could be a moment of time. It could be a period of time. It does not matter. But write that down and think about it. And what you need to do with the peak experience exercise in order to define values is to think about not just the details of the experience, like where you were, who you were with, what you were doing, but what was cool about it for you. What was cool? Why was it a peak experience? Were you traveling and there was adventure as part of it? Were you working on a team? Like one of our clients said, working on their high school yearbook was a peak experience for them because there was teamwork there and they were helping create memories for themselves and others. Those were some clues to their values, okay? And what we have people do is identify what their career values might be, what values you want to have honored in a job in order to brainstorm possible career ideas, but also understand what's going to work for you in terms of the work environment for your career. The role that you would play. Everything on the model gets impacted by values. So one homework assignment after you listen to this audio here is to do the peak experience exercise and share it with someone. Share it with a friend or family member or coach. We do this with our clients all the time. Have them listen for the possible values and priorities that are most important to you. Having that objective opinion or insight can help enormously. And the second thing we do is we have people write down what are some must-have, things that you can't live without, even in your personal life, and see if those things are possible career values as well, okay? So write down things you must have to gain a sense of enjoyment in your career. Do you have to feel like you're helping people solve a problem? or educating them or analyzing financial data, okay? And how to identify the head piece of the, or the head piece of the, the fulfillment equation, if you will, is you can use the life balance wheel, and we'll show you this in just a moment on the next slide, but you can use this life balance wheel to start to identify your practical priorities, okay, as a tool. All right, so let's take a look at this next slide. So in terms of implementation, all right, so identify your values first. So ask yourself first, right out of the gate, okay, ask yourself this question. What are your career goals? Hopefully you have some written down. Our clients develop a 1-, 3-, and 5-year plan. And you need to think about whether your goals are aligned with your values, okay? Double check them. Make sure that they are. And if they're not, figure out what you need to do to adjust them according to your values, okay? Then you begin with your values, and you want to identify, 5 of those, okay? Work with a friend over the next week to determine 5 values from your peak experience exercise or must-have list, okay? Then step 2 is going to be to complete the life balance wheel right here. You can use this model to identify your life priorities. What practical considerations need to be in place in order to take care of myself from a practical perspective in each of these areas here on the wheel, okay? And step 3, in order to align your goals with fulfillment more and align your career path with it, if that's the case for you, is to develop or revise your list of goals based on your values. How can you have your current career or the next one honor those values more? And what are the practical considerations that you need to have in place or consider in order to adjust those goals, okay? Do you need to save more money to buy a house? When do you want to ask for the next raise? When do you want to get a promotion? Determine what your goals are in each of these areas of the wheel, and then how your career needs to support those things, okay? That's the bottom line. All right, so defining fulfillment, just really quick example here, and then we'll move to step number 2. We had a client, Paula, in Atlanta. She was an unfulfilled corporate in-house lawyer, and we worked with her to realign her career goals. She actually realized that she did want to make a slight course correction in her career path. She wanted to remain a lawyer because that honored enough of her values and used her past education and her skills. But she wanted to move to a different firm with different values, that both of those things, or working at a smaller firm, matched or aligned with her values more and her priorities as well, greater life balance, the right compensation, et cetera, et cetera. So it met her criteria of the heart piece. She wanted to see a greater impact on clients directly. Working at a smaller firm helps with that. And the head piece of making a certain income still, which was important to her as a lawyer, but also leveraging her education. So before you take that next job, identify what your values and priorities are so that you don't experience that regret next time, okay? So step number 1, as we've just talked about, is to define fulfillment and align with it. Step number 2 is to expand your thinking, like we talked about at the beginning, and balance the practical with the passion. Here's the deal with this one, guys. You hear all the time, you do what you love, the money will follow. Yes and no, actually, not really. I love what I do, but I worked very hard to get here. The money does not follow, but what I will tell you is it doesn't feel like work when you love it. It makes a big difference. But we still have to work very hard to make whatever level of income we're looking for. So we start with fulfillment, like we said, and then expand your thinking to include the practical, okay? So let's take a look at the next slide here, and we want to balance the practical with the passion, and here are 3 steps, okay? So we talked about this already for a moment, the dream first and dream big. Define fulfillment first, okay? So both of these 2 first things here, dream first and dream big, and define fulfillment first. We really want you to think outside the box in terms of your career ideas. Anything goes with our clients at the beginning. We have them write down any idea they've ever had, even if it sounds crazy to them, and then we pare it down based on the rest of the model, okay? Then we bring in the practical. So the dreaming first, dream big, defining fulfillment in the values, then bring in the practical. This will help you adjust your goals as appropriate. Look at the compensation. Will this next career path pay you enough? Or is the salary that you want to go for in terms of a promotion enough and what you're worth? are your career goals realistic based on your talent, skills, experience, and education? Again, going back to the model, adjust them if needed, okay? And why is this important to balance the practical and the passion? We've said it already. If you start small, you will get small, okay? And what we have found is practicality too soon in the process of defining your career goals can limit your upfront expansive goal setting or career brainstorming and thinking. And you won't get as many great creative ideas if you get practical too soon, okay? And have people help you with this, by the way, friends or family members or a coach as well. Brainstorm and talk about your goals, bounce them off of them to see if you are challenging yourself enough and pushing yourself enough. So quick illustration with this one, and then we'll move to step number 3, which is taking the risk. So in terms of balancing the practical with the passion, so we had a client, Tracy, in Atlanta. She had a passion for health and wellness. And one of the ideas on her list was being a dietitian. She had a lot of different ones, but this was one of them. When she looked into that, she would have to go back to undergrad and get a different degree, which she wasn't really jazzed about. And also, she discovered that the compensation was going to be a lot lower than she was used to having in sales, which was her current job. So instead, we kept looking at different ideas, and she decided that she wanted to be in sales for consulting firms that helped organizations or companies implement health and wellness programs to save on health insurance costs. That helped her balance the passion with the compensation. Okay, so if you're looking on the slide here, this is how Tracy got practical with her ideas, but had she gotten practical too soon, she probably would have just stayed within sales, just in another industry that may not have been as rewarding for her. But because she fully explored this passion or excitement about health and wellness, that's when she got this other idea, okay? So in terms of the implementation here with balancing the practical with the passion, you want to brainstorm your career goals with a friend. Again, making sure that you're pushing yourself enough. And then also with them or by yourself, identify practical ways to implement the changes that you need to make. So here's the deal with this. Do you need to gain more experience or education in order to make a career transition? Or move to that next level at your current organization or in general? Do you need to volunteer for an extra project at work or freelance on the side? So come up with those practical ways that you need to put in place or steps you need to take in order to make this a reality. One way, by the way, to determine what you might need to do in order to achieve your next career goals or shift careers is to conduct informational interviews. These are a fantastic way to get real-world information directly from the horse's mouth, from people who do what you want to do or are in the job that's 2 steps above you, that they can explain to you how do what they did to get to that place and what you might need to do next. And leveraging the Vanderbilt Alumni Network is a critical way, or not just critical, but very effective way to identify people to talk to and conduct informational interviews with. So I highly recommend reaching out to fellow alumni in order to conduct those informational interviews. And the last way to implement this is to find a mentor. You might find one along the way while you're conducting informational interviews, okay? But a mentor can help you not just make a career transition into a different field, but can help you progress in your career slowly but surely. Coaches, by the way, career coaches like me, we often act like mentors for people. And I actually suggest to our clients that they have both a coach and a mentor and use them for a similar purpose, but use them for, objective feedback in general about career progression or transition from the coach, and from a mentor, very industry-specific advice, okay? All right, so step number 3 is take the risk, make it happen, okay? So this is where we're moving on to action. We all know and understand that you have to take risk in order to get what you want. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same old thing. So once you've identified the fulfillment piece, you've balanced that with the practical element, now it's time to understand the implementation of your action steps and the possible risks involved. And to make sure, everyone, there's enough risk so that you'll move forward and not stay in the same situation. So we already discussed why this is important. Any change or work towards a goal requires some kind of risk. The key is to prepare for it. So how do you evaluate your action steps? If you take a look at the slide here, you need to develop a list of action steps based on the values and fulfillment, and then evaluate your action steps and your goals based on these two things. Will these action steps move me towards my big picture goals? And number two, how can I minimize the risk? Do I need to just go step by step with them and slowly? Do I need to implement them over time? Do I need to get support along the way? So evaluate your action steps not just by, are they going to move me towards my goals, but also if there's a big risk involved, meaning like I want to make a really big career transition, how do I do that? Let me take it in baby steps. Let me take a class first. Let me gain some more experience at my current job that will help me with that next step. Whatever it is, take it step by step, okay? Really quickly, we wanted to share this with you as well. These are basically, this is a quick quiz for you, the 8 red flags to know that if you are in the wrong job, if you're in the wrong fit for you career-wise, okay? So if any of you are wondering, gosh, is my frustration or not feeling so great about my job or dissatisfaction a passing phase, or is it something that is a clue to I really need to move on? Here are 4 of them. We'll give you the rest of them in just a moment here on the next slide. These are some clues to know if you need to make a move and move on. If you're dreading getting out of bed every single morning, not just once or twice a week, if your work relationships are suffering and your performance is starting to go down, if you just get no satisfaction from your work at all, almost ever, maybe only 5 or 10% of the time, yes, that is a very big red flag. And if you've started to slack off, you've got kind of senioritis and really don't have much motivation, that is a clue as well. Time to move on. Here are the last 4. If you feel like you have to become or end up becoming someone else at work, you can't be authentic or your true self, that is a problem that is going to wear on you enormously over time. If your job's not using your talents and skills, bad. And if you spend most of your time complaining about it, and even if you fantasize regularly about getting fired or quitting or let go, that is a huge red flag too. I had a client once who called me, and we had only talked for about a minute or so, but she sounded great, much better than when we had our sessions before. And less than a minute into it, but long enough where I noticed her energy was so much better. I said, well, what's going on? You sound really good. And she said, I got fired last week, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes we need something like that push in order to move us to the next best step. It was such a weight off her shoulders. She was just thrilled to be out of that difficult, miserable job for her. So quick illustration here in terms of taking the risk, okay? And this is a good one. It's not going to be relevant for every person on the call today, but I wanted to share this with you because I want you to get that our clients are always pleasantly surprised with the risks that they take, that they actually, they're willing to, when they push themselves to take a little bit more risk than they normally would have otherwise, they're pleasantly surprised by the results. So one of our clients, Derek, he was in New York City. He wanted to move into marketing. That was something that he determined was his passion. He was really excited about it. But at the time, he was a financial analyst. He went to his boss because he knew that his organization valued him and that they tended to be a little bit more willing to move people around if needed. He went to them and explained to them what he wanted, and they were willing to make the change. He was thrilled. He is still in that role today. Now, this can't happen to everyone. I get that. But what I want you to understand that there are more success stories than you can imagine. Too often we get stuck in fear and we don't even try something. We don't ask a question. We don't stick our neck out a little bit to see what someone might say. Okay? So in terms of taking risk, I want you to push yourselves, everyone. And here is the implementation. Review each career goal to achieve each one. What action steps are required? Which ones require the most risk? Put a star by those. And under each one, also evaluate the worthiness of that risk. And if some of the action steps really aren't worth it, too much, or not the right time, you need to postpone it till later, that's fine. But evaluate each step along the way to make sure that you're taking the right ones. Okay? So just as a recap here are our 3 steps: aligning, expanding, and taking the risk, okay? And I want to just share a couple of things or resources, I should say, to help you with your next steps, everyone. So first of all, we've got two things. So there is a complimentary 20-minute career strategy session that I always offer to attendees of our webinars. Please feel free to schedule this with me, whether you want to talk about career regret or any other topic related to your career. That is fine. Anything is fair game. But I would be happy to chat with you for a few minutes about your career goals, what you're needing help with, and give you some solid, tangible advice on next steps that you should take or can take in this strategy session. You schedule it using this link right here. You can copy and paste it from either the slide here, or there's actually a PDF of the PowerPoint that we're going to be sending you afterwards. But go ahead and you can schedule that this way. Okay? And we also have our Define Your Dream Job Career Intensive coming up, as I mentioned at the beginning. It starts Wednesday, September 21st. If you miss the first session, we have 3 more. It is not a problem. That happens often with people. They are scheduled on your lunch hour so that you can do it during that time. The webinars are recorded, so if you do miss one, you can make it up. It's not a big deal. And we get rave reviews on this program. Here are some of the testimonials. The discounted Vanderbilt rate, which is, by the way, a very big discount, this is $100 off what we normally charge everyone, is $195 for this program, okay? The link to register is here. We will send this in a follow-up email as well. So last couple of things I want you to think about is I want you to think about, after you're finished listening to this, 2 action steps you will take this week from what we talked about today. Identifying your values, setting up an informational interview, doing the peak experience exercise with a friend. Whatever it is, I want you to identify 2 things that you will commit to in the next week. And I want to leave you with this quote. This is the quote, everyone, that got me through the scary or tough times during my career transition. The greatest risk in life is not taking one. At the end of my life, I knew that when I was talking to my grandkids in retirement, I was in retirement, that I wanted to be able to tell them that I at least tried. Even if I failed, then I didn't even try at all. So I want to leave you with that thought. Remember, taking risk is worth it. And not taking one at all, you can experience that career regret way too heavily if you don't do that. Thank you for being with us. Really appreciate it. Please reach out if we can help you with anything else. We're here to help. Have a great day.